Yo, what up? It's your boy Tom, and the time has come for my True Draco deck profile. This list I put back together about 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've got second place at one of my locals, just under my friend Toby last Saturday. And then Thursday, I got third place at a different locals, just under Belligerent Balloon's second place and Toby's first place. And they were both playing Virtual World. Now, this list is sort of a evolved variant of the list I was playing in 2019, which was based off of Maximilian Delval's second place top at YCS Milan in 2019 during TOS format. Now, things are starting to shape up in sort of a similar route to how that format was going 2 years ago, because now Sky Striker especially has been gaining a lot of popularity recently, and at the locals that I played Thursday, I went up against multiple Sky Striker players and 2-0'd all of them. So this list is actually doing really well so far. It's a lot more of a aggressive strategy than most other control decks. It's a lot more aggressive than you might see, and if you've seen gameplay of True Draco lists recently, this is not the same creature we're dealing with here. This is absolutely poggers. It is based. It is throw in whatever buzzword you want, Gamer Nene, Family Guy style. It is everything you could ever ask for in a rogue deck. It is just... Let's just get right into it. Alright, to start off the list, we have 3 copies of Ignis. It's the best one. Lets you search your spells, and just allows you to plus insanely. And then we've got 2 copies of Majesty Maiden. It's not particularly great, but it is necessary for our strategy. Then we've got the 1 copy of Dynamite, which is still unfortunately limited. For the spells, we have 3 copies of True Draco Heritage and 3 copies of Disciples of the True Draco Phoenix. You should know what these do if you're interested in True Draco. If you don't, if they get sent from field to grave, they both pop spells, they both allow you to tribute summon an additional time per turn, and they both let you draw cards. Heritage can draw up to 3 per turn, and then Disciples can shuffle cards from your graveyard back and then draw 1. We have the traps. When these are sent to the graveyard, we pop monsters. We've got 3 True Draco Apocalypse. The attack having effect of this is also really good. If you don't have a monster in hand to tribute summon, you can pop one of your other True Draco spell traps or a monster, but honestly you're going to be popping a spell trap and using that to pop a card your opponent controls, and then also it permanently reduces the attack of all the monsters your opponent controls, and that is just insane. And then we have 3 copies of Return, which has finally come back to 3. This one is also just absolutely necessary, so we're playing 3 of all of those. That is it for the True Draco core. Now we've got our Monarch support. We're playing 3 copies of Pantheism. It is just an insane draw card. It's also a search card. Only the search effect is once per turn. The draw effect is not. And then we've got our targets for it. We've got 3 Stormforth. This is to out anything that you can't ordinarily pop. And in your matchup against Virtual World, it's incredibly essential because you need this to take out the Shen. And then beyond that, we have 3 copies of the Monarch's Erupt. It's skill drain, but it's searchable. And then this is going to look kind of weird, but I promise I'll explain later. 1 copy of Tenacity. Got 3 copies of Ancamofrite. This one came out in Lightning Overdrive, and I believe a lot of people are talking about playing it in Monarchs. This card is absolutely amazing in True Draco. It just really helps your consistency, gives you even more draw power on top of the draw power that this deck already has. It's a body on field. It's just insane. Pot of Duality. Got 1 copy of Card of Demise, 1 Dragonic Diagram, and a 2nd copy of Dragonic Diagram. And then lastly, we've got 3 copies of Waterfall of Dragon Souls. We're playing a low monster count, especially because of Demise, and this just absolutely is phenomenal. I don't know why you wouldn't play it. That's it for the main deck. Now, for the side deck, we've got something that interacts with this specifically. So, you noticed you didn't see a domain? That is because it is in the side deck along with one other card. So here is how the Monarch support is structured for this deck. Got 3 copies of Domain and 3 copies of Strike of the Monarchs. Thank you to Maximilian Delval for that tech. Depending on what matchup you've got, you're going to likely be playing obviously 3 Pantheism and then any 2 of these other 3-ofs. You particularly want to play 3-ofs because it makes it easier to search them off of Pantheism, as well as Tenacity. Tenacity can only activate if you have Ignis in hand, but getting to your monsters is actually fairly easily done with this deck. And even if you don't have Ignis in your hand, you can still try to potentially mind game your opponent using that. And then, even failing that, you can discard it off of Pantheism, pop it off of Diagram. There's plenty of things you can do with it. And that's assuming you don't have Ignis in hand, which almost every game I've played with this, you basically always do. So I decided to main deck the Stormforth, and then also main deck the Erupt. But depending on the matchup, you may want to go for Domain or Strike. Strike is a lot better against control decks, specifically. Domain is obviously against the decks that don't really have any main deck power. Everything relies on the extra deck. Monarch's Erupt is really nice against most decks. It kind of suffers against Virtual World, though. And then Stormforth is just obviously really good. And then particularly good against decks that have monsters that you can't out by popping a trap. So that's going to be the main part of our side deck right there, is those cards to supplement our Monarch support. Beyond that, we've also got a 3rd copy of Majesty Maiden and a copy of Bad Masterpiece. We've also got 3 copies of Inspector Border, if you're just feeling like a chimp. We've got 1 copy of Imperial Order, if you're feeling like a chimp. And then lastly, 3 copies of Mind Drain. This is specifically for Virtual World. Alright guys, so that's the deck profile. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. Also, leave a like if you want to see Masterpiece come back to 3. Subscribe to future content, and stay tuned for a special series we've got cooking up here, where we're going to be dueling each other with $20 decks. Stay tuned. See you Wednesday.